Hi friends, I'm Parvez and welcome to my PyQt6 course for beginners. Now, I already have a lot of videos on PyQt, especially on PyQt5. And as you know, there are different versions of PyQt in recent years. We had PyQt4, after that PyQt5, and now it's time for PyQt6. Now you can see that if you see the documentation in the riverbankcomputing.com, so PyQt is a set of Python bindings for the Qt companies and Qt application frameworks, and runs on all platforms supported by Qt, including Windows, macOS, Linux, iOS, and Android. So PyQt6 supports Qt version 6, PyQt5 supports Qt version 5, and PyQt4 supports Qt version 4. And the bindings are implemented as set of Python modules and contains over 1000 classes. Now, as you know that there are different choices that for GUI development in Python programming language. So, for example, we have PyQt, we have tkinter that's built in Python. WX Python, it is a free library for building GUI applications, and also we have Kiwi. So these are the most popular frameworks that are used for building GUI applications in Python programming language. So now the PyQt is the most popular and it's more powerful. So now if you see in here about license, as you know that it's not free, and you can see that this is the for PyQt6, and it's a set of Python bindings for version 6 of the Qt application framework from the Qt company. And as you know that Qt is a set of C++ libraries. Now if you're familiar with the C++ and Qt5 framework, now if you want to create GUI applications in C++, then you can use Qt5. And you can create your own GUI applications using C++ with Qt5. And the PyQt is the bindings for the Python programming language that you can use. And about the license, you can see that it is a dual license on all platforms under the Riverbank commercial license and the GPL v3. And also if you want to purchase, then also you can get a commercial license, and this is the commercial license. But because for the educational purpose, we are going to just use the free version. Now let's talk about the installation, and you can see that the release date, and it's March 10, 2020, and you can just use this command pip install PyQt6 and it will be installed. So I have already installed it, and this is my PyCharm ID. I'm using PyCharm ID. You can just download PyCharm ID, and now we want to create our first window in PyQt6. So first we need to import. So from PyQt6.QTWidgets, we are going to import. So we want to import. Oh, sorry. This is from. So from we want to import Q application, and also we are going to import Q widget. Okay. So first we are going to create a basic window, and after that we will talk about the features of the window, like giving an icon, giving the title, setting the height and the width of the window. We will talk about that. So now also we want to import sys like this. And after that we are going to create our Q application. So when you want to create your first window, for example, you want to create your window, you need to create the object of the Q application. And here you can pass, for example, you can add sys.argv. So when you want to use, for example, command prompt or command line utility, then you can pass sys.argv in here. Now it's not related to PyQt, it's related to Python. And if you don't want to use, you can just leave it blank like this, and there's no problem, and it will work. Now after doing this, now we want to create we need to create the object of Q widget. Now there are three different types of the window that you can use. We will talk about that. For example, we have Q widget, we have QMain window, and we have QDialog. Now QDialog is like a dialog window, so if you want to create a dialog window, then you can use QDialog. And this is the QWidget, and also we have QMain window. For example, if you want to create a window that there should be, for example, menu bar, menu items, status bars, then you need to use QMain window. So in here we want to create a simple QWidget window, and I can just say window, and I can say QWidget. So after doing this, we need to show our window, and there is a method called show, and that's related to QWidget. So we can just say window.show like this, okay? And after that, we can just start our loop, and also we want to exit our app. So we can just say app.execute. Now, one of the important difference between PyQt6 and 5 is this, that in PyQt6 you can use like this, for example, .execute, and now in here we can just use like this, and there's no problem, it will work. And now you can see that we have our first window in PyQt6. Now in here, if I use like this, and if I run this, you can see that I am receiving error, and it's telling that Q application object has no attribute, this execute. Now we can change this to this, and now it is working, and there is no problem. So right now it's just a basic window, and there's not any feature, for example, like icon, like title, and some more features. Also, we want to convert this code to object-oriented code. For example, we are going to create a main class that extends from the QWidget, and after that we can create the object of that class. Okay, so now let me just create a new Python file in here, and let me just create a new Python file, and let me call it, for example, window class. You can call it whatever you want, you can just give it the name. So we need some imports, and let me just copy this code from here and paste it in here. And after that we want to create our main class. So this is class window. Now this class extends from QWidget, so you can give QMain window or QDialog, but we mostly we will use QWidget and also QMain window. And after that, so now it means that we have class window, and this class extends from QWidget. Now when you are extending from a class, then our derived class can access to all attributes and methods of the main class. So I will show you that what I mean. So now you should be familiar with the object-oriented programming and Python, and there will be no problem. So like this is my init method, and after that super dot init like this. Okay, now these stuffs are not related to Python, to PyQt. It's related to Python programming language. Now if you're familiar with object-oriented programming, with the class inheritance, with the, for example, how you can use constructor like this. So now this is my class window. Now I want to create, so first I need to create my application object, and after that so I can just say Q application. So this time I'm going to just leave it blank like this, so, and instead of using sys.argv. Now we can create the object of our window like this, and after doing this you need to show the window as we have done in here. So you can see that in here we have extended, so we have created the object of QWidget, and after that we have used window.show. Now in here, because we are extending from the QWidget, and this is the object of our window, now we can just say window.show like this. Okay, and at the end we can just say sys.exit, and we can just say app.execute like this. So now let's just run our window. So you can see that we have the same window with no icon and no functionality. So the first thing is that I want to add a window title. So because I'm extending from QWidget, now I can access to the, for example, set window title method using the self. So I can just say self dot set window title. You can see now these are not related to the window, these are related to the QWidget class. Because we're extending, now we can access to this. So I can just say set window title, and I can just say, for example, PyQt window, like this. Okay, so now if I run this, you can see that I have the title in here. So now I want to add an icon. So I've already added an icon in my, so I can just say self.set window, and you can see window icon, and we need to import QIcon from Qt GUI. So import, so I can just say from .qt GUI import QIcon, and in here I can just say QIcon, and you need to give the name of the icon, so it's qt.png. I have already added this icon. Now let me just run this. So you can see that we have icon in here. You can set a fixed width and height for the window. For example, I can just say set fixed height. Now for example, you can give it 200, and set fixed width and 200. So you can see that now we have a fixed width and height, and I cannot make the window bigger like this. Okay, so you can see that this option is disabled in here, because right now we are using a fixed size. Also you can set the main geometry, for example the X and Y position and the width and height of the window. So I can just say self.set geometry, so we can give the X and Y position, and also you can give the width and height. For example, I can just give it 500 by 300 and 400 by 300. This is the X and Y position, this is the width and height. Now let's just run this, and you can see that we have 400 by 300 window, and I can make it bigger like this. So also you can set a style sheet, or for example you can change your background color, and there are two ways. So the first way is that you can just say self.set style sheet, and I can just say background color, for example red. So now you can see we have a red background color window. The second way is that you can use Qt style sheet in here. So for example, I can create style sheet, and what I want to do is to add a background color. So background color, and I can, for example, give it red. And after that, what I want to do is to set this, and I can just say self.set style sheet, and I can set the style sheet in here. So now if you see, we have the same result in here, and there is no problem. Now let's talk about Qt Designer. So right now we can see that we have created our first window using codes, using some codes. Now it's good to use a designer. For example, if you have a complex application, then there should be something like a designer that you can design your GUI application in there. So fortunately for PyQt we have Qt Designer, but by default it's not installed in PyQt5 or PyQt6. Now you need to install another library, so that's called PyQt5 tools. Now even though you can see that it's the latest release for the PyQt5 tools, but right now it's PyQt5 and there's no problem, you can use it with PyQt6. Now you can just copy this and install this, so you can see the installation, and I've already installed it. And after installation, now let's just open our PyCharm IDE. Now in your terminal, so you can just open your terminal in here, and you can just say PyQt5 designer. So you can use .exe or just like this. So after that, hit enter. So now let's just wait. Okay, now you can see that we have the Qt designer in here, and you can create your window. For example, I want to use the widget, and after that click on the create. So this is our window, and now you can see that there are some options, and these are the widgets. Right now we haven't talked about the widgets, for example a button or some things. So for right now it's just a simple window, and so you can see the width and height of the window, the maximum size, the base size, the font, for example, for the window, and you can see the window title. And I can just say, for example, Qt designer window, and you can see that it's changed in here. And also you can see that there are different options that you can use. For example, you can give colors to the window. I can just right click and change the style sheet, click on the change style sheet, and I can just say QWidget, and I can say background, the color, and add color. Let me just choose this color and the color code, and I can just add it in here, and I can apply. Okay, now you can see the color has changed. Now there are two ways that you can use this Qt designer design. So the first way is that you can directly, if you see in here, it is a UI file. Now if I save this like this, you can see that it is a UI file. Now there are two ways. The first way is that you can just load this UI file. So this is the first way. The second way is you can convert this .ui file to Python file. We will do so first. Let me just do the loading. So first I want to load this UI file. Now I can just save this. So this is my folder, and in here I want to save this, and let me just call it my window.ui. You can just give it whatever name, or for example you can give it window.ui. So you can see the extension is .ui file, and after that click on save. So now in here okay, now in here you can see that we have our window.ui. so this is the window.ui file. Now we want to load this. As I've already created a load window.py, now in here we need some import. So first I'm going to, from Qt widgets, I want to import QApplication and QWidget, and also I need to import UIC, because we are going to use UIC for loading of our UI file. And also we can just use import sys. So now let's just create our class. I'm going to just call it class UI, and we can extend from QWidget, and I can just say diff init super.init. okay, now after this is the place that we want to load our UI file. Now we can use UIC. I can just say UIC.load UI. So we can use this this load UI, and in here so first is you need to give the name of the, so that's window.ui, then a file name, and after that we can just say self. Now we can create our app, Q application. So I can just say Q application, and you can just give it, for example, sys.argv, or you can leave it blank, and we can just say window, or create the object of this UI file. And after doing this, we need to show the window.show, and at the end we can say sys.exit. So we want to exit. After exiting, we want to close our apps, and after that we can just say app.execute. So this is the for example the loop of the window. So now let's just run our app. Now you can see that it's working, and we have our window that we have created in the designer. We have that window in here, so you can see that this is our window. So this was the first way that we have done. Now let's just talk about the second way. So the second way is that we can convert this window.ui file to .py file, and we can use PyUIC module for this. Now you can do that. So you can just open your terminal in the PyChar, and after that we can just say PyUIC6, and after that we need to give the file name, so that is window.ui and -o, it means the output, and after that you need to give the output name. So I can just give it so first we need to change the directory, so we can just say yt-tots, because our window.ui is located in this directory. So now I can just say, and now you can give the name of the UI, so that is window.ui, and this is our output, and I can just say my window.py, so the output should be my window.py, and after that hit enter. Okay, now it is converted. Now let's check. Okay, now you can see that we have my window.py, and if you see that this is generated and created by this UI generated, and this is some warning, and now we can run this. And if I run this, so now you can see that we have the same window in here. Alright guys, now this video we're going to learn that how you can create widgets, like for example buttons. We want to create button, and also we want to create label. So now this is my simple code for the window, and I have just a simple window and the title icon, and now we are going to create our so first I need to import first I'm going to import QPushButton, and after that I want to import QLabel, not QLayout but QLabel. So after doing this, now you can directly create your push button in here, but we are going to create a new method in here, and I'm going to just call it create widgets. You can call it whatever you want. So we can create the object of our QPushButton. So you can use QPushButton for creating of the button. So we can just say QPushButton, and after that we need to give the text and also the parent, so it's optional. Now we can just say for example click me, and self, the parent is self. Now if I run this, you will not see anything, because we need to call our self.create widgets in here, and now you will see a button. You can see that we have a click me button in here. So right now if you see, we have our button in here. Now we want to just move this. For right now we haven't learned about the layout management, and we will talk about that in the later part of the video. So for right now we want to move this button. We can use btn.move, and in here you need to give the X and Y position. So I can give it 100, 100. Now let me just run this. So you can see that we have the 100 is the X position and the Y position, and we have our button in here from X and Y. Also you can set the geometry. So let me just comment this. For example, if you want to make give a width and height for the button, then you can use set geometry. So we can just say set geometry. You can give the X and Y position and the width and height of the button, for example 100, 100. So now you can see we have a bigger size of button in here. You can just set also you can add an icon. So before icon we want to set style sheet for the button, and I can just say set style sheet and background color, and I can give it red. And if you see, we have a red color button in here, and let's just add an icon for the button. So btn set icon, and now we need to import QIcon from so it's import already in here. So from PyQt6 Q.Qt GUI we are going to import QIcon, and in here I can just say QIcon, and I have already added an icon in my working directory. It's a PNG. Now let's just run this. Now you can see that we have a nice icon in here like this. So now let's create our label, and we can just say label, and we are going to use QLabel class like this. And in here you can give the text of the label. For example, I want to give it my label like this, and the parent is self. And now we can move this, so label dot move, and it should be 100 by 200. Let's just check. Now you can see we have my label in here, and we can set the style sheet for the label dot set style sheet, and we can give a color of green, and you will see that our label text is changed. Also you can set a font size for the label, and we can just say label dot set font, and we need to import QFont from Qt GUI, so we can just say QFont. And now let's just use this, so QFont, and I can give Times New Roman, and we can give the size, for example, 15. So now you can see we have our button and label in here. In this part we are going to learn about signal and slots. Now signal and slots are one of the best features in PyQt, and they are used for communication between some objects. Now a signal is emitted when a particular event occurs, and a slot is called when its connected signal is emitted. Now I'm using my previous example, so it was button and label. We have a nice button, and also we have a label in here. Now this is the code from the previous part, and I want to just use that. And let me just change this to PyQt6, for example, signal and slot. Okay. Now in here, if you see, I have a button. I want, when I click on this button, I want to change this text. So now for this, first we need to create a slot, or we can say we need to create a method. Now let me just say diff, for example, we can say btn clicked, or whatever. You can just, for example, click the btn. So diff clicked btn. Now the first thing is that we need to get so we need to set the text for this label. Now for this I want to just make this self.label like this, because if I don't do this I will not access to the label in my this clicked btn method. So btn. Okay. Now we can just say self.label.setText, and we need to for example, I'm going to just say text is changed, and also I want to just say self.label.setStyleSheet, and I can just say background color to red color. Okay. So now what I want to do is to change this. I want to just set the geometry, and I don't want to use the move in here. So I can just comment this, and instead I can use self.label.set geometry. So this is the x and y position, and this is the width and height of the label area. Now if I click on here, there's nothing happens because we have created our method in here. Now we need to connect this with the signal. There are different signals that you can use. For example, for the button we have clicked signal that we can use, and for example if you have a menu items, there is a trigger signal that you can use. So now in the button in here I can just say btn dot clicked, so you can see that this is the signal dot connect. We want to connect this with our clicked btn that we have already created. So I can just so in here I can say self dot clicked btn. So now if I run this and if I click on this click me, you can see text is changed, and also the background color of the label is also changed. Alright guys, now we want to create our button and also labels and signal and slots using Qt Designer. So we want to design our GUI application using Qt Designer. So now I have already opened the Qt Designer, so you can just write PyQt6 Designer and it will be opened. Now in here I'm going to use a widget, and let me just click on create. So what I want to create a push button in here. So this is my push button, and I need a QLabel. Let me just find the label. So this is the label. Okay, now we want to change this to click me, and from here we can just find the geometry, so x and y position, and we can change the width and height to 100. So like this. Let me just bring this label in here. And for the text for this label also we want to just make the 100 height to 100, no, height to 50, and the width to 200. So first let me just change the font size, so you can see that this is the font size, and we want it should be, for example, you can just choose a font size from here. And now okay, so this is my label, and this is my button, and also this is my label. Now let's set some style and design for this. So right click, change the style sheet. So first I want to add some style for the Q push button, and I want to change the background color to red. Apply, you can see it's changed. And we want QLabel, and I want to change the font color, so color to green. Yeah, it's changed. So now let's just save this, and I can just go to the save, and from here I want to save it in here, and I can just name it button.ui. Yeah, it's good. Now let's open our now you can see we have button UI in here. Now let's just convert this. Now we need to convert our .ui file to .py file. So I can just say pyuic6, and I can just after that I need to give the name of that's button.ui, and the output should be, for example, my button.py. No such, oh sorry, we need to just change the directory to yt tots, and now we can just run our command in here, button.ui, my button.py. So now it is converted. Let me just open this from here, and you can see that we have my button.py. And now in here, so this is our file. Let me just run this, and you can see that we have our click me with a text label in here. Now let's just add the signal and slots functionality in here. The first thing is that I'm going to create, for example, a method. I can just say diff clicked btn, and I can self.label.setText, and I can just say get, or we can just say source codes at geekscoders.com, okay, like this. So now we need to just connect this, and I can just go to push button that we have in here, and we can say self.pushButton.clicked. So it's the clicked signal, and we want to connect our self.clicked btn. Just simple and easy. And now if I click on this, you can see source codes at geekscoders.com, and let's change the background color. self.label.setStyleSheet background color to red. Yeah, background color. And if I click, you can see that this is changed. We can just make it yellow. I think it should be looking good. So yeah, now it's looking good. Now we want to talk about the layout management in PyQt. So when you want to create a GUI application, there will be a need of a layout system. So for example, layouts are used for aligning your widgets in a good manner. And there are different layouts that you can use in PyQt. For example, we have VBox layout, we have HBox layout, and we have grid layout. So we are going to talk about these layouts in this video. Now I have already created my window code, so it's just a basic window. Now let's just import. First I need to import QVBox layout. Now using QVBox layout, as the name suggests, it aligns the widgets in a vertical manner. So using this, you can align your widgets in a vertical manner. And also we need to import QPushButton because we want to align the QPushButtons in a vertical box layout. Now after that, we need to create the VBox layout object, so QVBox layout. And now let's create buttons. So QPushButton, and I'm going to just say button 1. And now we need to add this button or this widget in the VBox layout. So we can just say VBox.addWidget. So you can see we have add widget in here, and in the add widget we want to add our btn1. And if you run this, and let me just run this, you can see that you are not seeing any button in here. It's because when you want to use layouts, then you need to set the layout for your main window. So right now we have a VBox layout, we have added a VBox layout, but we have the layout to the main window. So we can just say self.setLayout, and we want to set the VBox layout. And now if you see, we have button 1 in here, and you can see we can make it like this. Let's just add some more buttons in here. We want to copy this and copy, paste btn button 2, btn 4, and this should be 3, 2, 3, 4. And we can just add these buttons. So 2, 3 and 4. Now let's check, and you can see that we have our buttons in here, and we can minimize, maximize this, and you can see that we have our layout. It's a vertical or V-box layout. Now we want to create another type of layout that's called H-box layout. It means that using H-box layout we can align our items or widgets horizontally. So let's just import this, and we can just use QHbox layout, and we are going to use QPushButton. So let's create some buttons in here, and I can just say btn1 QPushButton, and I can just say button 1. Let's copy this, and like this. First we need to create an HBox layout, so HBox QHbox layout, and BT button 2, button 3 and button 4, between 1, 3 and 4. And now we can add, so HBox dot add widget, so btn1, and we can copy this, so btn2, btn3 and btn4, and at the end, as we have done with the VBox layout, we need to set our main window layout. So we can just say self dot set layout to the HBox layout, and you can see that now it's horizontally, our buttons are horizontally, and we can just make it like this. Now let's create our grid layout. Now using grid layout we can align our widgets or items in row and column. So now let's import QGrid layout, so QGrid layout and QPushButton. So now I want to create some, so first I want to create a QGrid layout. Now we can create some buttons, QPushButton and button 1. Let me pause the video because I want to create 8 buttons. Okay, now we have our 8 buttons in here. Let's just add these buttons in the grid layout. So we can just say grid dot add widget, and after that you need to specify the row and column. For example, 0 row and 0 column. So first you need to specify the button, so it's btn1, and we want to add in 0 row and 0 column. Okay, now we can just do this for the rest of the button. btn2 0 row and first column, and btn3 this should be the second column, and btn4 it should be the third column, and btn5 first row and 0 column, first row and first column, and so this should be, change this, make sure to change this, and btn7 like this, and just btn8 first column and third, so first row and third column. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, and now we need to just say self dot set layout to the grid layout. Let's check this. Yeah, now you can see that we have our layouts in a grid manner in row and columns. Okay, now let's create our layouts using Qt Designer. So you can just use PyQt5 Designer and it will be opened. So this is my Qt Designer, and I can just say create a widget. In here, so first let's use VBox layout. I can just add some push buttons in here, like this, and you can just choose all the buttons, select, and after that right click, and from here layout, and we can just use layout vertically, and you can see now our buttons are aligned vertically. So now let's just use some more push button for the edge box layout. So this is 2, 3 and 4 button. Now we can just select all of them, and the layout should be horizontally, and now these buttons are horizontally aligned. Let's just add some more button for the grid layout, and like this, and let me just copy the button, copy and paste. So now I can select the buttons and I can just say layout in a grid. Now you can see that this is in a grid manner. Now we can just choose these two, select these two layouts, so vertical and edge box layout, and we want to just make this layout, and it should be layout horizontally, and you can see it's looking good. And after doing this, we want to make these two vertically, or we can just select these two and make this layout and vertically. And let me just make this smaller, and also you can add a layout for the main window, so vertically, and now you can see it's looking good. You can save this, and after that we can convert this. Let me just save this, save, and we can just save it in, so let me just find the pattern here, file, save, YT charts, and in here we can just say layouts.ui. And now we can just convert this, so we have that in here, and now we can just change this to YT tots, and in here we can use the same command, give the name of the layout, so it's layouts.ui, and after that my layout.py, and now we can just check. Okay, now we have my layout, and so these are our buttons. Now let's just run this, and now you can see that we have our buttons in here. In this part we're going to learn that how you can create QLineEdit. So now I have opened my Qt Designer, so you can just use PyQt6 Designer in your terminal, and it will be opened. So now I'm going to use a widget, QWidget application, and after that I'm going to click on create. So now we want to add a line edit from here. So if you come down, we have a line edit, and this is my line edit. Let me just make it a little bit bigger, like this. Okay, and I want to add a Q push button, so let me just drag and drop this in here, and we need a label also. Let's just find the label. Okay, now this is my label. So now let's just change the text size of our line edit. So from here I can choose for example 14, and this is our Q push button. Let me just say click, and you can also change let me just make it 12, and this is our text label, and make it 14 bold. So now let's just I want to give a layout for this, and I can just choose a layout horizontally, and I want to just make these two layout vertically, and I can choose this, and I can make this layout vertically. So now let me just remove this text label. I don't need this, and this is my design. Let's save this. I can just save this, and I can just go to my working directory and name it for example LineEdit.ui. So now we have our LineEdit UI in here. Yeah, this is. Now let's convert this to .py file. So I can just use this comment, and you need to give the name. The name is LineEdit.ui, and I can get so the output. Okay, this should be the output. My LineEdit.py file LineEdit.ui. Let me check. Oh, it's double E. Sorry for this. And let me just. Okay, now we are done. Let's check our file. My LineEdit. Yeah, this is our LineEdit. Let me just remove this from here. Now if I run this, you can see that I have this form, and I can just write something in here. Now I want, when I click on this button, I want to change the label text. So for this, what we need to do, let me create a method in here, and I'm going to just call it diff btn clicked. The first thing is that we want to get the data from the LineEdit. So if you see in here, first we want to get this data, this value from here, and for that we can just use, so for example I can just call it text input, and I can say self.LineEdit.text. So we can use text for getting the value from the LineEdit, and after that we are going to set this, so self.label dot set text, and we want to set the text input like this. And after doing this, we need to connect this with the clicked signal of the push button, and in here we can say self.pushButton.clicked.connect, and this is self.btn clicked. And now if I write something in here, so geekscoders.com, you can check this website for getting the source codes. If I click on this, you can see that we are receiving this in here. And if I change this to another name, and if I click, you can see that this is my name in here. In this part, we're going to learn that how you can create a QRadioButton in PyQt6. Now, so I've already created my window, so this is just a basic, a simple window. And now, so the first thing is that we are going to import QVBox layout and QGroupBox. And so Now first we are going to create our group box in here, and I'm going to just say div let me just call it, for example, radio button. So I can just say self group box, q group box, and in here we can add, for example, choose programming language, and also we can just set the font for this. So self dot group box dot set font, and we need to import font from Qt GUI, so Q font, and we can just say Q font, and in here we need to add the font type, so it's Times New Roman, and we can give the size, so it's 15. Now let's create our VBox layout in here. So I can just say Q VBox layout, and after creating the VBox layout, also we need to call our this self.radio_button at the top, and in here now we want to add our this group box in the VBox, in this VBox layout. So VBox.add_widget, and we want to add self.groupbox, and at the end we can just say self.setLayout to the VBox layout. So now let's check. Okay, now you can see that we have choose programming language, and we have a group box in here, and you can see the border, and after that we have this title in here. Also we need to create a label. Let me just import QLabel in here, and we can create our label. So self.label QLabel, and for right now we can just say hello. We can set the font for the label, so it's Q font and Times New Roman, and we can give it, for example, 14. So now if you see, we don't have, okay, now because we need to add okay, we need to add to the VBox layout. So VBox.add_widget self.label, and now let's check. Okay, now we can see, you can see that we have a hello in here. Now it's time to create our radio button, and I'm going to import QRadioButton. So we can use QRadioButton for creating radio button, and in here we can create so we want to create 4 radio buttons. First let me also import QHBox layout, because I want to add my radio buttons in the HBox layout. Now I can just say QHBox layout, and after that we can create self.red, for example, radio button 1 QRadioButton, and I can just say Python. We can say self.radiobutton1.setChecked, so I want it should be checked by default, so I can just make it true. And also we can set the font for the radio button, and we can say Q font Times New Roman, and it's 14. And also we need to add this to the HBox layout, self.radio1. And now okay, now we can so this is our HBox, yeah, because we have a group box in here, if you see, and this group box is this group box is added in the VBox layout. Also we want to add the group box, we want to set this HBox layout to the group box. So now in here we can say self.groupbox.setLayout to the HBox layout. And now let's check this. So okay, now okay, Now you can see that we have Python in here, and by default it's checked. You can see. After doing this, now we want to create three more radio buttons, and I want to just copy this because we can change this to we don't need that. This should be checked, and we can change this to C++ and radio button 2, and let's just add another one. It is for example Java. So 4 and it should be C#. Okay, now let's check this. So you can see that now we have 4 radio buttons in here. Now I want, when I choose one of the items from the radio button, I want to set that item to this text, the hello label or text that we have in here. So for this, let me create a method in here, and I'm going to just call it on selected. And first we so the first thing is that we need to get the value from the radio button, so we can just say self.sender. And after doing this, now we can check that if radio dot is checked checked, we can change the label text. So self.label dot set text, and in here we can just say you have selected radio dot text, like this. And after doing this, now we need to connect this. As we have already talked about the signal, different signals that are related to the PyQt. Now so for the button we had clicked it. Now for the radio button we have toggled. So now let's just do that. In here I can just say cell.radioButton1 dot toggled dot connect, and we want to connect self dot on selected. Now let's just check this. Okay, now if I choose Python, you can see you have selected Python. We can do this for all the radio buttons. Radio button 2, radio button 3, and radio button 4. And now we can run this. So C++, Java, C# and Python. In this video we're going to learn that how we can create checkbox in PyQt6. So first we want to learn that how we can use coding for creating our checkbox, and after that we want to learn that how you can use Qt Designer to create your checkbox. So this is my basic window and simple code, and just it's for creating of the window. So after doing this now I need to import QVBox layout, QVBox layout, QHBox layout, and QCheckBox. Also we need a QLabel. So for right now we need these imports. So let me just create a method, div create checkbox, and in here what I want to do is to first create an HBox layout, because I want to align my checkboxes horizontally. And after doing this, now we need to create our checkbox. So I'm going to just say self.check1, and we can use QCheckBox. For example, I'm going to just give it Python, and we can change the font of the checkbox. So we can say set font, and QFont, we need to import QFont from Qt GUI. So I can just say QFont, and in here you can give the type of the font, so Times New Roman, and for example this should be 14, the size of the checkbox. And after that we can add this checkbox. So in the hbox layout, self.check1, and first also let me just create a label, because so we can create a VBox, and I can just say QVBox layout, and in here what I want to do is to first create my label. After that I want to add the label in the VBox layout, and also I want to add the hbox layout to the VBox layout. So it's kind of layout management that I want to do in this application. So now we can just say self.label QLabel, not QVBox layout. It should be QLabel, and for right now I can just say label. So this is just simple text, and we can set the font, self.label.set font, for example QFont, Times New Roman, and you can give it another type of font, for example sans serif, and this should be 15. We can set, for example, if you want, you can set style sheet, and I can just say color red. So now let's just add this widget, add this label to the VBox layout. So self.label. And now what you want to do is to add our hbox layout to the VBox layout also. So VBox, this time we are not going to use add widget, because we want to add layout, and so for this you need to use add layout. So in here we have used add widget because we want to add the widget, and because after that we want to add the layout, so we can use add layout, and we can just say hbox. And at the end, for the main layout, for the main window layout, we want to use the VBox layout. So I can say self.set layout, yeah, and it should be VBox layout. So it's a kind of layout management. First we had hbox layout, we have added the checkbox to the hbox layout. After that we have created a VBox layout, we have added the label to the VBox layout, and also we have added the hbox to the VBox layout. And at the end we have set the layout, the main window layout, to the vertical box layout. So let's just first run this. Let me call self.create checkbox, and I can run this. Okay, now you can see that we have our first checkbox in here, and this is the label. And you can see now if I add more checkboxes, you will see that it will be aligned horizontally like this, and between the label and checkboxes there is a vertical box layout. Now let me just add some more checkboxes in here, 2 more or 3 more, or so this should be Java check 2 and check 2. We can add another one, check 3, and this should be C# or C++, check 3, and we can change this to check 3. Let me just add one more in here. It should be check 4, and this should be a C#, check 4. Now let's check this, and you can see that the checkbox is aligned horizontally. Now we want to add some functionality for this. For example, when I choose one of them, I want to change the label, the text of the label. So for this, what I want to do is to create a method, or we can say a slot, and here I can just say diff item selected, And now we can check. So first let me just create an empty string in here, a variable, and I can check if self.check1 .isChecked. So we are going to use the isChecked method. If that's checked, we want to add the value of check1. We want to add the data from the check1 to the value. So we can just say self.check1.text. So using text, we are going to get the value that we have in the check1 and the checkbox 1. So now we can just copy this. We want to do this for the check2, check2, and let's just do this for the check3 and check3, and just one more for the check4 and check4. So now after doing this, we need to set this value to the label. So we can just say self.label.setText, and in here I can just say you have selected, and we can add our value in here. So now we have created the method. Now we need to connect this with the signal with the triggered signal that we have in the checkbox. Now let me just okay, now from here we can just say self.check1.triggered sorry, not triggered, toggled. We want to use it toggled in here. Triggered, you can use triggered, and for example, if you have menu items, you can use triggered. Now for the checkbox and radio button, we can use toggled, and toggled.connect, and we want to just use self.item selected. Let's just copy this and add this to the other checkboxes, and this should be check2, and we can choose check3, and the last one is check4. Now let's check this. So now if I choose Python, you can see you have selected Python, you have selected Java, you have selected C++, and you have selected C#. So like this, you can use coding for creating of the checkboxes. Okay, now I want to use the same coding, and I want to use Qt Designer for creating of the checkboxes. So I've already opened my Qt Designer. So from here I am going to choose a widget, and after this we want to create 3 checkboxes. So you can come down from here, and where is it? Checkbox. It should be, yeah, this is the checkbox. So this is the first one, this is the second one, and this is the third one. And also I need to add a label like this. Now I'm going to choose this 3, and so I'm going to add a layout. So the layout should be horizontally, and between these two, or we can say that our main window, we want the layout should be vertically. Now we can change this to Python, Java, and C# or C++. We can change the text. Let me just come down, and from here I can choose 12 bold, and I want to do this for the other checkboxes. And we can just add this to another one, and even you can change the color. So for example, for this text label, first I'm going to just make this 40 bold, and I want to give a color. So I can just go to change a style sheet. I want to target QLabel, and I can give a color of red, and I can apply, so it's red. Let me just do this for the Q checkbox that I can, so I can target Q checkbox, so Q checkbox, and so I want to use the color, for example green. No, it's not working. Q checkbox for the checkbox. Okay, so there is no problem. So for right now we are going to just use this for the label, and I want to just remove this text label from here. Okay, now we can save this, and I can just save this in here, and I want to just call it for example checkbox.ui. So now we have our checkbox in the directory, and now we need to convert that py uic6, and I can just say I need to give the name of the checkbox.ui, and after that the output should be my checkbox.py. Now the conversion is done, and let's check. Find this in here, and my checkbox. Let me just remove this, and if I run this, so you can see that we have our checkbox in here. Now let's just add the functionality of choosing an item from the checkbox. I'm going to just copy this code from here, and if item selected, and I can add this in here like this. And after that, if you see the checkbox, so you can see that this is checkbox, checkbox 2 and checkbox 3. We need to just change this to checkbox and checkbox. This is checkbox 2, checkbox 2, and we can just say checkbox 3 and checkbox 3. We don't have the fourth checkbox, so I'm going to just remove this. Now we can just go to the checkbox in here, so we can just say cell dot checkbox dot toggled dot connect, and we want to just use self dot item selected. Let's just do this for the more checkboxes. So we have checkbox 2, and we can add this in here and change this to checkbox 2, so checkbox 2, and we can come down, and we want to do this for the checkbox 3. Now let's run. So if I choose, you have selected Python, Java and C++. So like this you can work with checkboxes in Qt design. And now we want to learn that how we can create a SpinBox in PyQt6. So now you can see that this is my basic window, and I have my window, and this is the code for the window, and these are the imports that I have already added. Now let's create our so first I need to import SpinBox. So there are two types of SpinBox. We have QSpinBox and we have QDoubleSpinBox. So we will learn about both of them. So for right now we are going to just import the QSpinBox. We need a QHbox layout, we need QLineEdit, and also I think we need a QLabel also. Now in here I can just say diff create spin. So first we need to create our HBox layout, because we want to align our widgets and items horizontally, so we need to add an HBox layout. And now let's create our SpinBox. So first we want to create our line edit. So we can say line edit, QLineEdit, and before line edit in here we can also create a label. So label, QLabel, and we can just give laptop price, for example. And after doing this, now let's create our SpinBox. So I can just say self, we can just make this self.LineEdit and self.SpinBox QSpinBox, and now so we have our HBox layout, we have these three widgets. Now let's add these widgets in this HBox layout. Also we need to create another line edit. It should be for the result, so I can just say result self.result, so self.result, because I want to calculate the price, and I can just say self.result and QLineEdit. Now we can add to the HBox layout, so HBox dot not add layout, but it is add widget, and we want to add our label, but we can just copy this, so HBox dot add widget, we want to add self.LineEdit, and we can add self.SpinBox, and we can add self.result, and at the end we want to set the main window layout. So in here we can just say self.set layout to the HBox layout. So also let me, because it's a small, we can just change the width and height of the, so this is the set geometry, so, and I think there is no problem. Let me just run this. So we need to call this self.createSpin, and now let's check. So now we have our to line edit, and in here I can write the price of laptop, and after that I can choose the, for example, the quantity, and I should receive the total in this line edit. So now for this we need to create a method, and in here I'm going to just call it diff spin selected, or whatever you can just call it, you can add it. So self, or yeah, I can just say self dot line edit dot text. So first we want to check if self dot line edit dot text is not 0. So if this is the case, we want to just say we want to get the value from the line edit, and after that we need to convert that to integer, so we can just say int, typecast that to the int like this. After doing this, now we can just say total price, so self.SpinBox.value, we want to get the value from the SpinBox, and after that we want to multiply that with the price that we are receiving from the line edit. And after doing this, we can just say self.total self.result dot set text, and we want to set the total price, and we need to typecast this to string total price, and I can just give str in here, okay, like this. Okay, so now after this, now we need to connect this with the signal. There is a signal for the SpinBox, and it's called value changed signal. So now we need to just connect that in here, so I can just say self.SpinBox.valueChanged and .connect, and this is self.SpinSelected. Now let's just run this. Okay, so if I write, for example, 500, and if I choose the quantity, you can see we have the total in here. Now we want to create our SpinBox using Qt Designer. So especially we are going to use QSpinBox. Now you can see that we have a label to line edit with the SpinBox in between them. So this is my Qt Designer, and I'm going to choose a widget. So in here what I want to do is to first add a label. So I can just come down, and this is the label. And after that we want to add a line edit, and the line edit we can add a SpinBox. So this time we want to use double SpinBox. So double SpinBox and another line edit. Let's just add a layout for this. So layout horizontally, and we can just say layout, and this is horizontally. So we can change the text of this label, and I can just so this is the text or the font, and I can just make it bold, and we can just do this for this is 40 and change this to 40, and this also 40. Now let's add some color in here, and I can just right click and we can just say change style sheet. So first I want to add for the Q widget, and I can say background color, and this should be green. Apply. Okay, we have a green, and I can say QLabel, and the color should be white, and let's add for the QLineEdit. We can just add a color white, and also for the QTableWidget, we are going to use a white color. Apply. So now this is our design. Now we can just save this, and I can save this. Let me just call it doublespin.ui. Now we need to convert that. So this is my terminal, and I can just use this command, and after that you need to just give the name of the UI, so double.ui, and I can just say my doublespin.py. So now it's converted. Let's check my double spin, and we can just remove this from here, and let's run this. Okay, now you can see oh, I forgot to change this in here, but you can change this. Let me just change this again, and so for example we can just say sugar price like this, and now let's just save this. So save, and now we need to just convert this again, and so this should be, let me just remove this, and now I can see, okay, now you can see sugar price, and I can add so you can see that this is a double spin box. We have double volume in here. Now so what I want, let me just close this. I'm going to copy this div spin selected. Let me just copy this and bring this in here. So now in here we need to bring some change. So the first one, that this is our first line edit, and let's check. So it's line edit, and we can just bring this in here, and we have our spin box. It's double spin box, and this is not result, this is line edit 2. And now we can just connect this with the value changed signal. So in here I can just say cell dot double spin box dot value changed dot connect with cell dot spin selected. And now let's just run this. Okay, now you can see that in here, if I write, for example, 5.5, so not, oh sorry, I have given wrong value, so let me just run this. Okay, now in here if I give 5, now you can see 5, 10, and if I give, for example, price is 10, and if I choose, you can see that we are receiving this in here. So like this you can work with this double spin box using Qt Designer. Okay, now let's learn about creating a table widget and how we can use QTableWidget using coding and using Qt Designer. So now first we will create our table widget, so using coding. So these are my imports, and I want to import QTableWidget, and not tab widget, but it is QTableWidget, QTableWidget item, and also I think a QBox layout. So after doing this, we want to create a VBox layout, and after that now we can create our table widget in here, QTableWidget. Now we need to specify the row, the number of row, and also the number of columns. So we can just say table widget dot set row count, and for example 3, and table widget dot set column count, and this should be also 3. And after doing this, now we can add items. So we can set item, so we can just say set item, and after that we need to use QTableWidget item. So first we need to specify the row and column. So for example, in which row and column you want to add. For example, we want to give 0 and 0, so 0 row and 0 column. And after that we are going to use QTableWidget item, and now we can give, for example, it is first name, or we can say f name. So we can just do this the same. Let me just so this is 01, and it should be L name, and this is 02, and we can give it email. So now we can set the items in here, and we can just say table widget dot set item. So now after this you need to specify the number of row and column. So you can see if I say dot set item, and you can see that we need to give some for example row and columns in here, and after that the table widget item. So now we can just say first and 0 and QTableWidget item. Now we can give, for example, you can give a name in here, and so after that table widget, or set item, it's not set current item, but it is set item. So now I'm going to copy this, and this should be first one, and I can give it, for example, the L name, and this is our email. Okay, now let's just add this to the VBox layout. So add this table widget. So I can just say add widget, and I can add the table widget, and I can say self dot set layout to the vertical box layout. Now let's check. So now you can see that we have first name, middle name, but it's I think we are 0, 0, 1. Oh yeah, it's 2, not it's 1. So okay, now you can see F name, L name, and also email. Now let's just copy this, and we want to add one more. Okay, now this should be 2, 2, and 2. We can change these. So John Doe and john@gmail.com. And now you can see that we have 2 items in here. You can change the style sheet if you want. I can just say table widget dot set style sheet, and we can give a background color. So for example, yellow or red, or whatever you want, for example green. And now if you see, now it's changed. Let me just make it yellow. And also we can set the font. So table widget dot set font, and we can use Q font. We need to import Q font at the top. So Q font, you can give the font type, so Times New Roman, and also you can give the, for example, I want to just give it the size 214. And now if you see, so you can see that we have our table widget in here. Now also you can use PyQt designer for creating of the table widget. So now I can just click on the widget, create, and from here I can grab a table widget. So yeah, table widget, and we can just make it for example layout horizontally. Now you can right click, edit items. Now you can add column. So for example, first column I want to just add F name, L name, and also we can give the email. So now you can see we have in here. Now we need to add some rows in here. First row, and the item is and you can see we have first item. We can edit item. We can add another one. So the second row, and item we can just give it a name in here. And now we can see that we have this table widget in here. You can easily save this and name it, for example, table widget, and we can just, now we can convert this. So okay, now let me just open the terminal, and in here I can just say it was table widget dot UI, and so my table widget dot py. So my table widget dot py. Now we can just, so now you can see that this is our table widget. In this video we want to learn that how you can create list widget in PyQt6. So now this is my simple window, and so I want to import QListWidget, QVBox layout, and also QLabel. So oh, not VBox layout, but no, VBox layout, I think it's correct. So after this, now we can say VBox QVBox layout, and after that we need to create the list widget. So self.listWidget, and I can say QListWidget, and from here, so you can just say list widget and QListWidget, and now we can insert some items to the list widget. So self.listWidget insert item, and in the 0 index we want to add, for example, PyQt, and now we can just copy this, and after that we can add another item, WXPython, and so in the second index we want to add Kiwi, in the third index we want to add tkinter. So these are the items for our list widget, and the last one is PySite2. So now after doing this, we are going to create a label. So self.label QLabel, and for right now we can just say hello, and we can say self.label.set font. We want to set the font for the label. Let's just import the Q font. So Times New Roman, or you can just give it sans serif, and 14. So now we can add, so vbox.add_widget, we can add our self.listWidget and vbox.add_widget, and we want to add our label, and at the end we want to set the layout for the main window. So we can just say VBox layout, and now if you see, you can see that we have our items in here, and this is our label that we have in here. Now we want to add some functionality for this. For example, if we click on this, we want to change the color of change the label of this text. So now for this we are going to create I'm going to just say div item selected, and from here I can just say item, and first we need to get the item from the list widget, the current item, so we can use current item, and after doing this we can set this to the label. So self.label.setText, and we can just say for example, you have selected, and now we can add our item dot text. So we need to typecast this to string, so I can just say str. Okay, now let's just connect this, so in the list widget, and I can just say self.listWidget dot clicked dot connect. So self.item selected. Now we can run this. So if I choose, you can see I've selected, and WXPython like this. So for example, you can set style sheet for the list widget, so you can just say self.listWidget dot set style sheet, and I can just say background color yellow, and if you see, now the background color is changed to yellow. So this was using coding. Now if you want to use Qt Designer, also we can do, so you can just write PyQt5 Designer in your terminal, and it will be opened. So now from here, let's add a list widget, and also we need to add a label, and we can just choose the layout vertically like this, and now we can edit items. Let's just add some items in here, and we can just say wx python and kiwi, and so this item should be tkinter, and this should be PyQt6, and now these are the items. So we can change the font color from here, and where is it? Font color 12, we can make it bold, yeah, and we can change the label text, so we can make it bold. Now let me just remove this, and now let's save this, and you know that how you can convert this list widget, so list widget dot UI, and now we can convert this in here. So in the terminal we can just and now we can say now the file name is list widget.ui, and the output should be my list widget.py. So I think it's done, and now we can find this my list widget, remove this code and run this. Now you can see we have our items in here. Let's add the functionality. We are going to copy this item selected from here, and we want to paste this in this section. So it is list widget, and now we can connect this. Yeah, you can do it in here. So self.listWidget dot clicked dot connect to self.item selected. You can see that we are receiving the text in here. This part we want to create combo box in PyQt. So first we want to create combo box using coding, and after that we will use Qt Designer for creating of the combo box. So now so this is my simple window code, and what I want to do is to import the QComboBox class, and I want a QVBox layout with a QLabel. So after this I want to create a VBox layout, so I can just say QVBox layout, and after that we want to create our combo box, so I can just say self.combo and QComboBox, and now we can add items to the combo box, so we can just say self.combo.add item. So we can just add some item in here, and let me just copy this because we want to add some more items. So Python, wx Python, and kiwi. After that we have tkinter, and the last one, for example, PyQt6. So now let's create a label. So right now if I add this to the VBox layout, so add widget self.combo, and I can just say self.set layout, so I want to set the main window layout, to the VBox layout, and if I run this, so now if I run combo, okay, now you can see that we have the our combo box in here. Now let's create a label, and I can just say label QLabel. For right now I'm going to just say hello, and also I can set the font for the label, set font Q font. Let's import Q font in here, and I can just give a type, the type of the font, and also the size. You can add this to the VBox, so VBox.addWidget, and let me just make this self.label and self.label. So now we have a label in here. Now we can add some functionality to this. There is a signal that you can use in the combo box that's called current text changed. So for this, the first thing is that we need to create a method, and in here def combo item, and first I can just get the item, so self.combo.currentText, so current text, and after that I can set that to the label, so self.label.setText, and I can say you have selected, we can add the item, the value, sorry, not item. Now let's just connect this with the current text changed signal of the combo box. So I can just say self.combo.currentTextChanged.connect, and we can add self.combo item. Now if I select, you can see I've selected Kiwi, you have selected PySide2, and you have selected WXPython. So now let's create the same using the Qt designer. So you can just write PyQt5 designer in your terminal and it will be open. So I'm going to use widget, and in here we want to add the combo box and also a label, and we can make the layout vertically. Let's just make it a little bit smaller, and I can edit the items. We can add some items in here, and WXPython, Kiwi, not Kiwi, but it's Kiwi, PyQt6 QButton, and PySide2. So these are the items. We can change the font size, and I can just make it 12 bold, and the text label should be I think should be 14 bold like this. And let's just give you can give it a color, that's never mind, and I can just remove this text label for right now, and let's just save this. Combo.ui, and now we need to convert this to the .py file, pyuic, and we can give the name of the UI file, so it's combo.ui, and the output should be my combo.py. Now it's done, I think, and let's check. My combo. We can remove this from here, and if I run this, so you can see that I have my combo box in here. And now let's just add the functionality. So I'm going to just copy this from here and add this in my new file. Change this to combo box, and now we can connect the signal. So let me just copy from here. Let me just add this in this section. So it's combo box, and now I can run this. So you can see if I choose Kiwi and PyQt 2, so like this you can work with combo box. In this part we are going to learn about creating menu and menu items in PyQt6. Now, so for right now you can see that I have just my window, and now what I want to do is, so right now you can see that we are using QWidget, and we have used till now QWidget, and I've already said that, for example, you can use QMain window and also QDialog. So for example, if you want to create a dialog window, then you can use QDialog. And if you want to create a window that there should be, for example, menu items, menu bars, and status bars, then for that we need to use QMain window. So first we need to import that QMain window, and now this class window extends from QMain window. So after that we are going to create our method in here. So I'm going to just call it div create menu. So what I want to do is to in here we want to first create our main menu, and it should be a menu bar like this, self.menu bar. Now this menu bar is related to the QMain window, and it's already built in. So now you don't need to import this. So after that, now we are going to create a file menu, and we want to add this main menu dot add menu, and we can just say file. So after doing this, now let's create some actions in here. So I can just say new action, and Q. Now we need to import Q action in here. Q action and Q action. So now because we want to add so for right now so because I want to add some icons for the menu items, I have already added some icons in my working directory. So I can just say images, so it's an images folder, and it is new .png, and after that it is new, and also we need to give the parent self. And after doing this, now we can add this in the file menu. So we can say file menu dot add action, and we can add our new action here. Now let me just call myself dot create menu in here, and now if we check this, so we have an error, unexpected str images because we are going to add icon. So for right now let me just remove this, and if I run this like this, okay, now you can see we have file new. So right now we are not going to add any icon, so you can see that we don't have icon in here. And So now let's add the icon, and in here we need to first import so we have QIcon in here, and we can just say QIcon, and in here we can add our icon. So you can just say images new.png, QIcon new.p, okay. So now let's run this, and you can see that we have an icon in here. You can add shortcut for the menu item, so we can just say new action dot set shortcut, and for example we can just say Control plus N, and we can run this. So you can see we have a shortcut in here. So let's just add some more actions in here, and so this should be save action and images save.png, and it is save, and Control S. We can just add this in here. Also we can add separator in here, so new action, save action, for example we can add another one that is for example copy action, and this is copy.png, and copy, this is Control C, copy action. Now you can add separator. For example, we want to create a exit menu item, and if you see this, so we want to add a line in here, and we want to separate this 3 menu items from the exit. So let's just copy this, and we can just say exit action. We don't need the shortcut in here, and this is exit.png, and this should be exit exit action. And now so first if I run this, so you can see that we don't have any line in here. Now we want to add a separator line for the menu items, and so I can just add that in here. I can just say file menu dot add separator. So you can see that we have a line in here. Now when I click on the exit button, I want to close the window. So there is a signal called triggered in the menu items. We can use that. So first we are going to just create our close window in here. Let me just call it div close window, and in here we can just say self dot close. And now let's connect this with this exit action. I can just say exit action dot triggered dot connect, and we can just say self dot close window. So if I click on the exit, you can see that the window is closed. So now if you want to, for example, use Qt Designer, it's also simple. So for example, I have opened my Qt Designer. From here I can just choose main window, create, and now you can see that in here you can create your menu items. So for example, file, you can add new, so new, or you can say copy, we can say paste, and now we can add separator like this, and in here we can add exit like this. You can create, for example, view, font, Now, so like this you can easily use, and you can create your menu items using Qt Designer. Alright guys, now this is the second part of our course on PyQt6. So in the first part we have learned about different topics in PyQt, like different widgets. Now in this part we're going to start our database programming. Now for the database programming, now in this database programming section we will learn that how you can for example create database, how you can insert data, how you can retrieve data, so these kind of functionalities. Now the first thing is that you need to install MySQL connector Python, so because we are going to use this library, and you can just use pip install MySQL-connector-Python. And after installing of this, and you can see that this is the latest released, we are going to you need to install WAMP server, because we are going to use, and this is, you can see this is my PHP myadmin. Now after this, this is my Qt Designer. You can just use PyQt6 Designer and it will be opened. Now we want to create our GUI in here. I'm going to just click on the create like this. So in here the first thing is that first I want to add a label. Let me just add a label, and after adding label we need a line edit. So let me just find the line edit. Yeah, we need two buttons, two push button. So this is the first one and this is the second one. Also we need another label. Let me just add the label in here. So let me choose these two, and we want to make the layout horizontally. For these two push buttons we can just use the layout horizontally, and we can choose our main window layout and we can make it vertically. Now let's change this. Let me just say database name, and we can change the font size 40 bold, and or we can just say 12. I think it's good. Yeah, and let me just change this to 12, and you can change the text size a little bit more bigger, so 12, and this text label should be 40 and bold like this. Okay, now so this is our line edit, and you can see that the object name, and we are not going to change this, but for the push button we want to change this. So this for this I can just say database creation, and I can just change this to the object name to db create, and this is database connection. We can change this to db connection. And so this label is, this is label 2, and you can change this, but I'm going to just leave it like this. I will know that this is my first label and this is the second label for the checking the database connection. What I want to do is to just remove this text label from here. Now I can save this. I'm going to just save this, and from here let me just call it databasecon.ui. and after doing this, now we need to convert this so to .py file, and I can just say the name is databasecon.ui, and now we can just say databasecon.py. okay, now let's just check our converted file, and so yeah, you can see that this is databasecon.py, and we could just remove this. And now if I run this, so you can see that I have so you can add a spacer between these two. I think I should add a spacer because I want to give some space between these two. So for this, from here we can just choose a vertical spacer, and yeah, now we can save this again. Save, and let me just convert this again. And now so database con.py, and okay, now you can see that it's looking good. We have some space between these, and in here we have our label. So I want, when I write, for example, some name in here, database name, and if I click on database creation, I want to create a database automatically in my WAMP server, so using the GUI. Now for this, the first thing is that you need to import. So import MySQL dot connector as we can just reference it as MC. And then now in here, let me just create my first method. I'm going to just call it def create database, and we can create a try catch block in here, and I can call it we can just call it whatever. So for example, I can call it DB, or you can say MyDB. And in here we want to just say mc.connect. We want to connect. So first we need to give the host name, and the host name is localhost, and after that we need to give the username. So the username is root. I don't have any username for the WAMP server, and also I don't have any password, so for this I'm going to just leave it blank. Now after doing this, now we need to create in here I'm going to create a cursor. So I can just say, so first let me just create my except mc.error as e, and I can just write the error in my label 2. So label 2 dot set text, and I can just say database creation failed. Database creation failed. Okay. So now after this we need to create the object of cursor. So I can just say cursor and mydb.cursor, and after doing this we need to get the DB name from our text input. So if you run this, so you can see this is our text input, or we can say line edit. We need to get this input value from here. So now in here I could just say DB name self.lineedit.text, and after that I can just say cursor.execute. I want to execute my query, and I can just say create you can just say create database, and after that you need to give the database name. So dot format, and we can add the DB name. So this is the name that we are going to receive. And after doing this we can just add a self.label2.setText, and I can say that database created dot format, and we can add the DB name in here. Now let's just connect this with the button that we have. So we have DB create, and in here I can just say self dot DB create dot clicked dot connect to self dot create database. And now let's just run this. Now if you see in here, these are my databases, so let me create a new database in here. And I can give for example a database name. So this is my database name, and I want to click on the database creation. So you can see that this database created. And now let's check our WAMP server. So if I refresh this, and you can see that this is the new database that's created through the GUI, and right now we don't have any table in here. Now let's check the database connectivity that we have the database connection. And for this I need to create a new method, and let me just come down, and here I can just say diff db connect. We can add a try in here. So let me just copy some codes from here. I can just grab these codes from here and bring it in this section. What I want to change to add a database in here, because now we have the database and we want to check the database connectivity. So we can just say database, and you can add your database name. And if there was a connection, we can just say self dot label to dot set text, and we can say there is a connection. And if there was an error, we can just add this except in here, and we can add it in this section. So in here I can say we have so diff so we need to add this in here. Okay, now if there was an error, we can just say that error in connection. You can there is error in connection. So we have error because we have copied, and in here we have to try. And let me just remove this one. Okay, now we can just add this the db connect and this button. So I can just say self.db connection dot clicked, and I can just say dot connect itself dot db connect, and we can run this. Now if I add so for example, if I say database connection, there is a connection because we have our database in here. And for example, if I change this database name, for example, to PyQt, we don't have this database. And if I run this, if I click on database connection, you can see that there is error in connection. And let me just bring this again. Now we want to insert some data into our MySQL database. So right now we have our database, and there is no table and there is no data. So I'm going to create a table of users, and there should be 3 fields. And so now I can just say ID and email and password. So this should be integer, and I can just give it the length 100, and it should be auto increment. Let me choose it, and the email is varchar or varchar, we can say, and this is 100, and the same for this. Let me just give it 100 and click on save. So now the database is created. We have our users table. We have our users table with ID, email, and password fields, but there is no data for right now. We want to insert data using our GUI. Now for this, I have opened my Qt designer and I'm going to just click on create. So we need to add some widgets and line edits. So first I'm going to add QLabel in here, and after that we need QLineEdit. So this is the first one and this is the second one. Let me select this and I want to make this horizontally, and also we want to make this also horizontally, and we need a push button. Where is it? Yeah, and also another label like this. Let me just make these two align these two vertically, and I want to make my main window layout also vertically. We want to add a spacer, so vertical spacer between between the QLineEdit and also push button. Okay, now let me change this to I can just say email, and this to password, and let's change the text from here, and we can just make it 12 bold, and this should be 12 bold, and for this we can just make it 12, and this line edit 12. Change the button also, the text label to 14. Okay, now so let me just change this. So right now it's a plain text edit and we want to make this password. So you can just come down and you need to find the echo mode. So right now you can see it's normal, but we want to just make this password and it will be like password field. Let's change this to insert data, and so you can see the IDs. You can change the ID you want. For example, you can change the line edit to email field or this password field. I'm going to just leave it by default. So this is my line edit 1, line edit 2, and this is my push button, and this text label is label 3, and this is for the result, and I'm going to just remove this text label from here. So now we have our this design. Let's just save this, and I can save this. We can just call it insert data. Now we can convert this insert data.ui, and we can just give it insert data.py. Okay, now we are done. So let me just find this from here, and that is insert data. Yeah, and now if I run this, you can see that I have a nice design, and you can see that this is a password field. Now let's create our coding. So this was the design. First I want to import mysql.connector as MC, and in here we can just say diff insert data. Let me create a try. In here we can just say mydb mc.connect. Let's just add our host. So the host is localhost. We have the user and the user is root, so it's the username. We have password, it's empty, and we have a database. So the database name is this is my database name. And let me just create so if there was an error, so I can just say except mc dot error as e, and we can just print that error in the label tree that we have. So dot set text, and I can just say inserting data field. So now and here the first thing we are going to create our cursor. So I can just say my cursor and mydb.cursor, and after creating of the cursor, we want to get the input from the two line edit that we have. So we have email and password. So this is the ID name is LineEdit1 and LineEdit2. So we can just say email, and it is self.lineedit.text, and the second one is password self.lineedit, it's lineedit2.text. So now after doing this, we are going to create our query. So query, and we can just say insert into users, and we have so the ID is auto increment, and we don't need to give, we want to just add password, email and password fields, and the values, and the values should be, we're going to use string placeholder in here like this. Now we can create a value, and we can add our email and password in here, and after that we are going to just execute our query. So we can just say my cursor dot execute, and we can add our query and the value or the data that we want to insert. And at the end you need to commit the database, so we can just say mydb.commit like this, and also we can just copy this and bring this in here. We can say that data has been inserted, data has been inserted. So now let's connect this with the button that we have, with the push button. So I can just say self.pushButton.clicked and dot connect. So it is self.insert data. Now let's run this. Okay, now I want to add data in here. So right now if you see, our database is empty and we don't have any data in here. And let's just so we can give a password and insert data. So data has been inserted. Let's check that we have the data. We have the first data. Let's add another one. I can just say John at gmail.com, and you can give a password in here, and we can just insert. So you can see that we have the second data in here. So now we're going to learn that how you can retrieve the data from your MySQL database and a QTableWidget. So now you can see that this is our users table, and we have two data in here. And now this is my Qt designer. First we are going to design our application, our GUI application. Now what I need in here, I need two labels. So let me just add the first one, the second one. I need two line edit. So this is the first one and this is the second one. Okay, now let me choose these two, and I want to just make the layout horizontally, and we want to do the same for our this second label and line edit, and we want to make it horizontally. After that, we need a table widget, so we can just okay, now I'm going to use this table widget in here, and I want to add it in this section. And after that also we need a push button, and I can just add the push button in here. We can choose these two, these two, and I want to make it vertically, and for the main layout we also want it should be vertically. So this is our UI design. Now let's just change this, and this is my database name, and after that this is my table name, like this, and also so this is table name. Now I can just change the font size, and I can just make it 12, and also I want to make it bold, and we want to do the same for this. It should be 12 and also bold. And let's just change this to 12, and we can just make this to 12 like this. And let me just change this to, for example, show data, and we can change this to 12, and for this also 12. So now we can preview this in here. If I preview, you can see that this is our UI design. Also, I forgot to just add number of we can add, if you want to add number of row and column, you can add. So you can see, so for the row I'm going to just add for example 7, and for the column I want it should be 3. Okay, now let's just save this, and I'm going to just save this in here, and I want to just name it show data.ui. and now let's convert this to .py file, so we can just say like this, and after that so it was show data.ui, and the output should be show data.py. And now let's check show data. Yeah, this is show data. I'm going to just remove this, and now if I run this, so you can see that I have this in here. This is the database name, this is the table name, and after that I can click on show data to show my data from the database. Now let's create our method in here. First we need to import I need from PyQt6 QTableWidgets import QTableWidget widget item, QTableWidget item, and from or we can say import MySQL.connector as MC. And in here we are going to create diff show data. We can create a try, and in the try we need to just get the database name and also the table name from the line edit. So self.lineedit.text, and we have table name, self.lineedit2.text. And after doing this, we are going to create our, I can just create my DB, and I can just say mc.connect. So first one is host, so the host is localhost, and we have a user, so the user is root, and we have a password, so there is no password, and the database is the DB name, like this. So now if there was an so first okay, now let me just create my cursor in here, cursor object, and I can just say mydb dot cursor, and now we can execute our query. So my cursor dot execute, and I can just say select all from dot format table name. Now after this we are going to fetch all the data, so we can just say result, and we can say my cursor dot fetch all. So you can see we have fetch many, fetch one. We are going to use fetch all because we want to get the all data. And after that we want to just say self dot table table widget dot set row count, and we want to make it to 0. Now we are going to create a for loop, so I can just say for row number, because I want to iterate on the columns and rows, row data and enumerate, and we can add the result in here, and we can just say self dot table widget dot insert row, and we can just say row number in here, and we need to create another for loop, so we can just say for column number and data in enumerate row data, and in here we can just say self dot table widget dot set item. We can add our row number in here, and after that column number, and also we need to add a QTableWidget item, so it needs row number, column number, and also a QTableWidget item, and we want to add the data, so we need to just typecast this to the string, so like this. Okay, now so if there was an error, let me just, so this is my, okay, now if there was an error we can just say except mc dot error as e, and we can just say print error occurred. Okay, now let's just connect this with the show button that we have in here, and now this is our show button, self dot push button dot clicked dot connect, and it is self dot show data. So now let's just run this. Okay, first we want to give the database name, so this is my database name, and we need to give the table name users show data. Now you can see that we have our two data in here. So now we are going to create a simple login system, so where we can log in. Now for this I have already opened my Qt designer, and let me just create, so first I'm going to create my design. Now what I need two labels in here, so this is the first one and this is the second one. Also we need two line edit, and I can just grab from here first line edit, and this is my second line edit. I can choose these two and make the layout horizontally, and we want to choose these two, and this should also be horizontally. We need to add a push button and also a label in here. We can choose these two and make this horizontally, not horizontally, sorry, vertically. And for the main window layout you can choose it vertically. So this is the design. Also we need to add a vertical spacer in here. Let me just, yeah. Now in here I can just say email, and this is password. Let's change the text to 12 bold, and we can change the text of this line edit. For the password we need to do the same, 12 bold, and this is also 12. And also you can just change the echo mode. So right now it's normal, and we can just make it password. So and here we can just say login, and let's change the font of our button. So we can choose from here, and 12. So this is the text label, and we can just make it 12 bold. So right now so you can see that we have our this email, and I'm not going to change the object name, but you can change it. For example, you can make it line edit email, but for right now I'm going to just leave it like line edit 1, 2. So this is the push button, and this is the label 3 that we have in here. Now if you preview this, we can preview this, and you can see that this is our design. Also, let's remove this text label from here, and now we can save this, and I can just add this in here, and I can name it login.ui. Let's convert this, and I can convert this to .py file. It is login.ui, and after that I can just say login dot, sorry, this should be O, and login.py. So I think we are done, and if I find the login in here, where is it? Yeah, login.py. And now I can run this. Okay, now this is our design. Now let's create our database functionality. First I need to import mysql.connector as MC, and from PyQt6.QTableWidgets we are going to import QDialog. Now in here we can just say diff login. So first we are going to connect, so first I need to get the email and password from the line edit. So self.lineedit.text, so we can use text for getting the input. This is the email, and for the password I can just say self.lineedit2, so that's lineedit2.text. So after doing this, now we are going to create our connection. We can give the host, so it is localhost. We can give the user, so this is root, and we can give a password. So right now we don't have any password for the WAM server, so I'm going to just leave it blank, and we need to give the database name. So this is the database name that I have already created. So after doing this, now let's create our cursor in here, and I'm going to just call it my cursor, mydb.cursor. And now we need to create our query. Okay, now let me just paste the query in here. So this is my query. You can see select email, and we are going to select the email and password from the users table. Where email is, we are going to check that if our email is the same so the database email is the same as the email that we are receiving from the input, and the same we want to do for the password and password like, and this is for the password. So this is our query, and after this query, now we need to execute our query. So I can just say my cursor dot execute, and we can add our query. Now we can create a result in here, and we want to fetch one record. So for this we can just use my cursor dot fetch one, and now we can check if result is none. We are going to just say self dot label 3 dot set text, and we can say incorrect email or password. In the else case, so we can just create an else. So in the else case, what we want to do is to just say self.label3 dot set text, and I can just say you are logged in. And now I want to open another dialog. So after login, I want to open another screen or another dialog. So for this, I have already imported QDialog at the top. If you see, I have imported this QDialog, and now I want to use this. Okay, now I can first create the object of my dialog. So I can just say QDialog, and now I can just say my dialog dot set model to true, and after that I can just say my dialog dot execute. Now if you're in PyQt5, then you can use like this execute, but because we're in PyQt6, then we cannot use this, so we need to use this execute. This execute has been removed in PyQt6, so we can just use it like this. And now we are going to create our except block, and we can just do that in here. So except mc.error as e, and we can just say self.label3 dot set text and error. So now let's just connect this with our push button, and in here I can just say self.pushButton.clicked dot connect, and I can just use self.login. Now if you see my database of users, I have two users, so this is the email and this is the password. Now first I'm going to add a wrong email and password. So now for example, I can add just like this something, and if I log in, you can see incorrect email or password. Now if I add the correct email and password, so this is the email that I have, and let me just give the password in here, and if I log in, you can see that I am receiving another dialog in here, and if you check here, you are logged in. In this video, we're going to learn that how we can create a color and font dialog. So now this is my Qt designer, and I'm going to just create a simple GUI where we will have a text edit like this, and we will have two buttons, two push buttons, and we can just grab and drag and drop it in here. I can make the layout for this horizontally, and for the main layout of the window I want it should be vertically. And now let me just change the text of this to so you can just make it I'm going to make it 14, and after this we can just make this color dialog, and this should be font dialog. Let's change the text size and make this also. We can preview this if you want. You can just preview this, and it's looking good. Now let's just save this, and we can just save this, and in here I'm going to just call it colord.ui, and now we want to convert that to .py file. So it is colord, I think it was colord, yeah, colord.ui, sorry, colord.ui, and after that the output should be colord.py. Now we can check. So I should see, yeah, this colord.py. Now we are going to, if I run this, so you'll see that I have a text edit in here with 2 buttons. Now I can create my, first let me just create a method for changing the color. So I can just say div color dialog, and first we need to import the color dialog. So from I think it's related to Qt GUI, so from PyQt6 GUI import QColor color dialog. Oh, sorry, it's QTWidgets. So QTWidgets import QColor dialog, and in here we can just say color and QColor dialog dot get color. So we are going to get the color, and after that we want to set the color to the text edit. So we can just say set text color, and we want to add the color. And now let's just connect that with the button. So the first button, self.pushButton.clicked.connect, and this is self.color dialog. Now we can check this. So if I write hello world and the color, and now you can see that the color has changed. So now let's just create another one for the font. So the font dialog, and I can just say font OK. First we need to import that, and after that we are going to get the font dialog. So we can just say qfont dialog. So I can say qfont dialog dot get font, and after that I can just say OK. I want to set the font to the text edit. So self.textedit.set font, and we can add the font. Now let's just find our second push button. Okay, now this is the second push button, and we can just add this in here. So self.pushButton2.clicked.connect, and we can add self.font dialog. So now if I write hello world, and if I choose font, for example 20, I can choose it like this, bold, and now you can see that the font has changed. In this part we are going to learn about QPainter class and how you can use QPainter class, and we can use QPainter class for drawing different shapes like rectangle, triangle, or for example ellipses, and also texts. Now also we will see a big difference between PyQt5 and PyQt6. Now if you see the difference, now the first difference is that all named enums are now implemented as a subclass of the standard Python enum class. PyQt5 uses int enum for scoped enums and a custom type of traditional named enums. So we have already saw this difference now, because now all the execute underscore and the print underscore methods have been removed, and we have used directly this execute. Now we will see that this the second big difference. So this is, now if you see in here, for example, if you see in the Qt class, we have for example we have align center, align baseline, or align bottom. Now before this, in PyQt5 you can directly use, for example, qt.align center, but in PyQt6 we cannot use like that. We can use qt.alignment, and after that we can use align center. Now we will see in QPainter class that how we can use this. So now I have already created, so you can see that this is the difference that we have already talked. Now we cannot use this, because if I run this like this, you can see that I am receiving error that object has no attribute execute. It's removed in PyQt6. Now, so for this, the first thing is that we are going to import QPainter class. So it's related to Qt GUI, so QPainter class, and in the painter class we have a method that we can use that's called diffPaintEvent. And now let me just remove this. We can just use E in here, or event. And okay, now we need to create the object of QPainter class like this. And after doing this, so we can just add a solve in here. Now after doing this, we can use, so for example, painter dot draw. So you can see we have draw image, line, and different shapes that you can use. Draw pie. We want to use draw rect, and in here you can give for example 100, 15, 300. So this is the x and y position, the width and height of the rectangle, and 100. So now if I run this, you can see that I have a rectangle in here. Now let's just add some styles. So for that we can use QPen class. So we have already, so I haven't imported, I think, yeah. Now we need to import QPen and also QBrush. So now in here we can just use painter.setPen, and after that you need to, so now if you're in PyQt5, then for that we can just say QPen. Let me just for that, in PyQt5 you can just use qt.black. For example, we want it should be, the pen should be, so let me just import Qt. I can just say from PyQt.Qt core import Qt. So for example, Qt.black. Now if you see in here, let me change the black to, for example, you can just use another color. For right now, for example, I can just use yellow. Okay, now you can see that cannot find reference yellow in Qt. Now if I run this, you will see that I am receiving error in here. You can see that it's not working. It's because in Qt and PyQt5.6 we cannot use like this. According to the this rule that all named enums are now implemented as a subclass of the standard Python. You can find the, so let me just, if I can find for example, you can see that in the brush styles we have brush styles in here. Now for the brush style, if you want to use, you can just use qt.brushStyle. We will use this. And for the color also, if I come down, okay, yeah, now, yeah, this is, now for this we need to use global color, and after that we can add this. So now I can just say qt.global color, and after that I can just use, for example, yellow. Okay, now if I run this, so you can see that this is changed to yellow. And so let me just change this to, for example, black, and if I run this, you will see that this is black. Also you can add the pen size in here. So for example, the pen size is 5, and also we need to use a pen style. So before this we can directly use Qt, for example, dot for example, solid line, like this, solid line. But now we need to use dot pen style dot solid line. Now if I run this, so you can see it's solid line. I can change this to dash dot line, and you can see it's changed to this. Now this is the big difference between PyQt5 and PyQt6. So now also you can set the brush for the painter, so we can just say painter dot set brush, and in here I can use QBrush. And for the QBrush, now first we need to give the color, so we can use qt.global color dot green, and after that we need to use the brush style. Now for this, as I've already showed you, now we can use qt.brushStyle dot, for example, solid pattern, or so first let me just use a solid pattern, and now if I run this, you can see we have solid pattern, and we can change this to another one, for example, die-cross pattern, and this is another type that you can use for the brush. Now we are going to draw ellipse using QPainter class. So now I have already opened QPainter, QPaint, and QBrush. Also I want to import Qt like this, and after doing this, let's create our paint even method in here, and we don't need this, and let me just give it E. So the first thing is that we need to create the object of QPainter class in here, and after doing this, now we can draw our, I can just say painter dot draw rect, and so not rect but ellipse, so draw ellipse, and in the draw ellipse you need to give the, for example, the x and y position, and also the width and height. So I can just use 100 and 100, 400, and also 200. Now if I run this, so we are not seeing, oh, I have forgot to add self in here. And now if I run this, you can see that I have an ellipse in here. Now let's just add pane. So we want to just add painter.setPin. We want to set the pin, and we can just use QPin. First we need to specify the color, so qt.global color dot, for example, yellow, and that it should be 5, the size of the pin, and the pin style we can just use qt.pinStyle.solid line. Now you will see that we have like this ellipse. Also we can set the brush, so painter.setBrush, QBrush, and first we need to use qt.globalcolor.green, and after that we need to use the brush style, so qt.brushStyle dot, for example, we can use another one like stencil pattern, and let's just run this. So you can see that we have like this ellipse. Okay guys, now we are going to draw our text. Now how we can draw text? So for this I have already imported QPainter class, and now we need to just add the paint event, so like this, not paint engine, but it should be paint paint event, and so div paint event, and so now let's create the object of QPainter class, so QPainter, and after that we can just use painter.draw text, draw text, and in here you can give the x and y position and also the text. For example, we can just give a simple text in here, and if I run this, so you can see that we have our text in here. Now you can add some styles also. For example, you can align your text. So for that, let me just first create a rect in here. For that we need to from PyQt.Qt core, we are going to import QRect, and also we are going to import QRectF because we will need this also. Now in here we can just say QRect, and in here you can give the positions, for example the left, the top, the width and height. So we can give for example 100, 150, 250 and also 25. So left, so it's left, top, and also we have width and height. Now after doing this, now we can just say painter dot draw rect, and we can add our rect in here. So rect. Now let's draw our text. So painter dot draw text. Now we can add our rect in here, rect, and now we can add our alignment. So we can just use first let me import Qt. Now in PyQt5 it was, you can just directly you can use Qt dot, for example, align center, but in here we need to use alignment dot align center. And now we can give the text in here, so you can just give it a text like this. Okay, now let's run this. Now you can see that we have our text in here. Also you can add some HTML to your text. For that we need to use QText document for rendering HTML, and for that we need to import that. So QText document, so it's related to Qt GUI. Now let's create our document, and I can just say QText document, and after that let me just create another rect, so I can call it rect2, and we can use QRectF. So we can give the left, top, and also you can give the width and height, so 250, 250, and now we can say document dot set text width. We can add our rect2 dot width. Now we can write our HTML, so we can just say set HTML. So for example, I can just first I want to make it bold, and I can just say welcome to PyQt course. And now after doing this we need to just say document dot draw contents, and in here we can add our painter. So let me just bring these in here. And we can add our painter and also our rect2. So now you can see that in here we have it's bold. For example, I can do for example, I want to add I tag. It should be italic, so I can just say let me add my name. So now you can see that we have italic in here, and let's add more in here. For example, I can just add font and font size to, we can give a font size, and also we can give a color red. Let me close the font in here, and we can just say enjoy from the video, from the course. And if I run this, Now you can see that we have enjoy from the course.